Hello and welcome to ChapterSkip. I'm Mark and today I'm reviewing the movie Freshwater. So recently I went back into the water, as it were, and took a look at the movie The Shallows, and unfortunately it just didn't do it for me. So as my urge to see people getting chomped hadn't been satisfied, I decided to move inland a little bit and hang out with reptiles instead of fish and take a look at freshwater. The problem is that, judging by the opening sequence of the movie, this might not have been the wisest decision on my part, as the movie starts with a girl getting pulled into the water by something that once again we can't see. Probably due to budget constraints and a lack of decent special effects. In fact, can we stop these pulled into the water by something unseen sequences, please? They're just stupid. I mean, if we look at what happens in this movie, the girl barely had a fingertip in the water and yet she was pulled under, and then of course we have to get the breaking the surface and screaming bit before she gets submerged for good. The exact same sequence has been done to death way too many times now. Other early problems in the movie are some bad editing, which can be quite jarring, and there's even a moment where we get a shot of scenery for a second, and then a black screen, and then the same shot starts over. I mean, did no one notice this shit and think to fix it? Also, talking about scenic shots, we get it, the river and the surrounding countryside look stunning. You don't have to keep showing it every 5 minutes. So, the movie stars Zoe Bell as Brenda Gray, who's some sort of alligator specialist. Although, you would think that if you've been called out to a gator sighting twice in a row at the same address for what actually turns out to be exactly the same log each time, you wouldn't just throw the log back into the water. You're only going to end up going back there next week. And then after that scene, we then get a shot of the gator, which seems like it's implying that Zoe Bell didn't spot it and that she couldn't do the one job that she was employed to do. When we get to the first gator attack sequence in which we actually see the big old reptile, well, it certainly goes to show that practical effects are much better than bad CGI. The gator looks like something from the PS2 era. Actually, it's a bit harsh on the PS2, as this monstrous monstrosity has flat textures and the shadows from the surrounding area have no effect on it. Maybe it's some pan-dimensional alligator and it hasn't quite phased into our reality yet. That's the only explanation I can give for how bad it looks. Now don't get me wrong, I've seen CGI a lot worse than this, but if you can't sell your main selling point, then something isn't working. Not to mention that the editor is up to his old tricks, so that when the gator chomps down on his victim, they flail wildly for a bit, and then we get a short montage of repeated images of them flailing wildly. It really is pretty bad. So the CGI gator is a bit of a letdown, but there are some passable props in the movie, such as the severed leg that was found in the water, which looked pretty good, although there is one major fault there, in that it does appear that alligator bites also have the ability to change someone's ethnicity, because I'm pretty sure that leg was a different skin colour from that of the person it supposedly came from, which could explain Michael Jackson. Maybe he didn't have bad plastic surgery. Perhaps he was attacked by an alligator. That would explain why he was whiter than Christmas and looked like he'd been chewed up and spat out again. There are some unintentional laughs in the movie, such as a scene where someone gets attacked and the terrible CGI blood in the water looks like it was created using MS Paint, whilst the musical score sounds like what would happen if you sat an epileptic on a piano and then turned on a strobe light. Now, again, this is another movie that I'm obviously being quite harsh on. However, despite all of its faults, it did get more enjoyable the more of it I watched. There was a little mystery going on within the plot that made things a lot more interesting, and the characters, despite not exactly being multi-layered enigmas, were fairly good. And even the douchebag wasn't overly annoying. The movie provided me with a few laughs, even if they weren't all intentional, and by the end it turns out that, despite all of its numerous faults, I'd actually had fun watching it. If you're looking for a bit of low-budget fun, and you're able to get past its faults and just stick with it, then this is worth taking a look at. Sure, there are better alligator-themed movies out there, but this managed to entertain me for its entire duration. And sometimes a movie doesn't need to be big or clever or chock full of great effects, it just needs to be entertaining. And despite all of its problems, Freshwater managed to be exactly that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hello and welcome to ChapterSkip. I'm Mark and today I'm reviewing the movie The Shallows. No, I'm not. There was a little mystery going on within the plot that made things a lot more interesting. Pardon me.